Out on the trail, every rider has a story. Some bikes made us heroes. Others nearly killed us trying. Before traction control and fancy fuel maps, there was a wilder age, when engineers chased horsepower like mad scientists and riders were the test dummies. They promised power, speed, and glory. What we got instead were bruises, broken levers, and a few lessons in humility. These were the machines that tried too hard, burned too hot, or simply weren't ready for the real world. Today, we're dusting off the legends everyone loves to hate. The misfires, the monsters, the bikes that gave ride at your own risk a whole new meaning. So kick back, hold on tight. This is the 10 most hated dirt bikes ever built. 1973 Harley-Davidson Baja 100. Back in the early 70s, America had dirt in its veins. Every weekend, pickups rolled out with Hondas, Yamahas, and Suzukis strapped in back. Light, fast, two-stroke rockets made to fly. And then, Harley-Davidson decided to join the fun. The same company that built the rumbling Electroglide thought they could build a trail bike too. They called it the Baja 100, proudly American-made, though it was really an Italian-built Air Mach-E with Harley stickers. A tiny 98 cubic centimeter two-stroke, 5-speed, kickstart only. Twin shocks, steel frame, 10 horses on a good day, and nearly 200 pounds to haul around. On paper, it sounded plucky. On the trail, it was a joke. Riders said you could kick it 10 times and still be late for dinner. The clutch slipped, the gearbox cried, and the motor wheezed halfway up a hill before giving up entirely. Cycle World called it forgettable. Riders called it a cruel prank. And within a year, Harley quietly packed its bags and left the dirt to the Japanese. Today, that little Baja 100 has become a rare sight, a quirky collectible for die-hard Harley fans. If you find one with the original decals intact, expect to pay around $4,000 to $6,000. Proof that even bad ideas can get nostalgic with age. 1974, Suzuki TM400 Cyclone. If the Harley Baja was a gentle embarrassment, Suzuki's next act was pure overkill. The year was 1974, and the 400cc motocross class was the main event, the arena where men settled scores in horsepower and pain. Yamaha had the edge, and Suzuki wanted it back the hard way. More power, less mercy. The result was the TM400 Cyclone, a 396 cubic centimeter two-stroke rocket that pumped out over 40 horsepower while weighing barely 220 pounds. On paper, that was thrilling. In the saddle, it was terrifying. The power band hit like a stick of dynamite, smooth 1 second, then full detonation the next. The short suspension and spindly frame couldn't keep up. It bucked, twisted, and threw riders like a rodeo bull. One magazine said it best: "It runs calm for 5 seconds, then tries to kill you." Starting it was a battle, keeping it running was worse. Many racers, even seasoned pros, refused to ride it after a single lap. The name stuck, the Widowmaker. A bike so vicious, it became a cautionary tale for an entire generation of MX engineers. Today, collectors hunt them for the legend, not the ride. A well-restored TM400, original plastics, factory yellow, will fetch $6,000 to $9,000. Proof that fear itself can become collectible. 1979, Yamaha YZ490. After the TM400 scared half the motocross world into early retirement, you'd think manufacturers might slow down a little. Not Yamaha. By the late 70s, they were leading the 500cc MX class, and they wanted to keep that crown, even if it meant building a bike that fought back. Enter the YZ490, a 487 cubic centimeter air-cooled two-stroke brute making around 52 horsepower, packed into a steel frame with big 43mm forks and a carb the size of a soda can. It looked every bit the champion's tool, until you kicked it to life. Riders joked that one good kick could break your leg, and they weren't far off. The engine pinged like a church bell, The vibration blurred your vision, and mid-range power was so uneven it felt like the throttle had moods of its own. Crack it open, and the front wheel leapt skyward whether you wanted it to or not. At first, magazines praised its muscle, until they tried racing it. Reviews quickly shifted from fast to fatiguing. The Ping King, they called it, a bike that punished as much as it thrilled. Still, nostalgia has a way of softening old bruises. Today, a clean, all-original YZ490, especially with its stock pipe, can bring $3,500 to $5,000, a noisy relic from when brute force was still a design philosophy. 1982 Honda CR480R. By the early 80s, the arms race in motocross was in full swing. Yamaha had the Ping King, Suzuki had the Widowmaker, and Honda wasn't about to sit on the sidelines. They wanted a piece of the 500cc glory, something that could prove Big Red could brawl with the wild ones. That something was the CR480R. A 472 cubic centimeter two-stroke monster pushing roughly 52 horsepower through a thin steel frame and a set of Showa forks. It looked light, fast, and purposeful. It was all of those, right up until you landed from your first jump. The frame flexed, bent, and sometimes cracked clean through. Power delivery was vicious, too much too soon, with zero traction to save you. Riders joked it felt like riding a stick of dynamite on wheels, and they weren't exaggerating. The bike didn't just demand skill, it demanded courage. Magazines called it raw and heartless, while a few thrill-seekers fell in love with its savage honesty. The CR480R was fast, flawed, and unforgettable. A stepping stone to the far better CR500R that followed. Today, collectors chase it not for perfection, but for heritage. A properly restored CR480R, paint-matched, Showa suspension intact, can fetch between $5,000 and $7,000, a loud red monument to Honda's first misstep on the path to greatness. 1985 KTM 500MX. If Honda's CR480R was wild, KTM's answer was downright feral. By the mid-'80s, Europe didn't want to just catch up to Japan. It wanted to outmuscle it. And nobody leaned into that mission harder than the folks in Mattighofen. Their idea of progress? Build the most powerful motocross bike in Europe and let the braves sort themselves out. The KTM 500MX was the result. A 495 cubic centimeter two-stroke hammer putting out well over 60 horsepower, running a 4-speed gearbox and WP suspension. It looked mean, sounded meaner, and rode like it had something to prove. But that power came with baggage, a huge delay off idle, followed by a violent surge that hit like a truck. The chassis twisted on landing, the clutch wore out fast, and starting it could test a man's religion. One racer summed it up perfectly. Every lap felt like surviving a war. The bike was brutally fast, but too quick to be fun, as one European MX magazine put it. Still, its legend stuck. KTM learned from the chaos, moving toward balance, traction, and control in the years ahead. Today, the 500 Mexican pesos is a unicorn, rare, raw, and respected. A clean, original survivor can command $9,000 to $12,000, proof that even monsters grow more valuable with age. 1990, Kawasaki KX500. By 1990, the dirt bike wars had hit their boiling point. Honda had the mighty CR500R, fast, fierce, and surprisingly refined. KTM had just unleashed a beast that blurred the line between bravery and insanity. Kawasaki's answer? Build something that could blow both of them off the line. Literally. The KX500 wasn't just another 500cc two-stroke. It was a 499 cubic centimeter cannon, churning out around 63 horsepower, hung on a steel frame with unitrack suspension and beefy Kayaba forks. On paper, it was unstoppable. In reality, it was unmanageable. The power band hit like a sledgehammer, instant, violent, and impossible to predict. The frame flexed, The front wheel clawed for the sky, and more than a few bikes suffered piston seizures thanks to poor cooling. One rider joked, "You crack the throttle and the front wheel just disappears." Ordinary trail riders called it terrifying. But out in the desert, where power ruled and traction was optional, the KX500 found its kingdom. Baja racers worshipped it. Big torque, endless grunt, and speed that could leave everything else in the dust. Kawasaki fixed most of its sins by 1992, and the legend was sealed. Early models are now prized trophies. Expect $7,000 to $10,000 for a clean one, and as much as $15,000 for a genuine Baja spec machine. 1995 ATK 605. After years of watching Japan dominate and Europe roar back to life, America still had one last card to play. If Kawasaki's Green Grenade ruled the desert, maybe a homegrown brand could bring back the red, white, and blue spirit of true made-in-USA dirt bikes. That was the dream behind the ATK 605, bold, stubborn, and a little bit old-fashioned from day one. Built around a 598 cubic centimeter Rotax 4-stroke, the 605 packed a steel frame, monoshock suspension, and dual disc brakes. On paper, it sounded like a serious dual-sport contender. But reality had other plans. At nearly 300 pounds, it was too heavy for serious off-road use. It shook like a paint mixer, its wiring was temperamental, and the clutch often gave up before the rider did. One owner described it best: like riding a World War II Army bike that somehow learned to growl. In an era chasing lighter, sleeker, and more refined machines, the ATK felt like a throwback nobody asked for. The press called it old school in a new age world. And within a few years, ATK faded from the mainstream. Today, that stubborn little 605 has become a nostalgic oddity, rare, proudly American, and built like a tank. Clean examples with their original Utah decals can still pull $4,000 to $6,000, proof that even failure can age into charm. 2001, Cannondale MX400. By the mid-1990s, ATK's dream of an all-American dirt bike had faded into nostalgia. But a new name stepped up, one nobody expected. Cannondale, famous for high-end mountain bikes, decided to storm into the motocross world. Their goal? To build the most advanced American dirt bike ever made. And for a moment, it looked like they just might pull it off. The MX400 was radical, a 432 cubic centimeter 4-stroke with electronic fuel injection, a reversed aluminum frame, and a 5-speed gearbox. No carburetors, no compromises, and no safety net. It was light years ahead of its time, and that was exactly the problem. The EFI system glitched constantly, the engine overheated, oil leaked from everywhere, and the ECU had a habit of dying mid-race. Riders told horror stories. It just shut off mid-lap, no reason, no warning. What should have been a revolution turned into a repair bill. The press called it a technological disaster, and by 2003, the project bankrupted Cannondale completely. Yet, in hindsight, it was the first brave step toward the EFI revolution every dirt bike uses today. Collectors now hunt the MX400 not for performance, but for legend. A rare original, especially an early serial model, can fetch $6,000 to $8,000, proof that even failure can be ahead of its time. 2003, Husaberg FE 650. After Cannondale's high-tech meltdown, the dirt world swung back toward brute strength, and no one did brute better than the Austrians. By 2003, Husaberg, then a small but fiery offshoot of KTM, decided to build the biggest, boldest enduro thumper anyone had ever seen. A bike that could flatten mountains and humble its rider in the same breath. That beast was the FE 650, a 644 cubic centimeter 4-stroke, pumping out around 55 horsepower, oil-cooled, kickstart only, with all the attitude of a runaway tractor. On paper, it promised unstoppable torque and simple engineering. On the trail, it was a sauna on wheels. It ran hot, drank oil like a Harley, and shook so violently your vision blurred. Its gearing was short, its clutch stiff, and starting it cold could take the patience of a saint. One rider nailed it. It had personality and a grudge. Fast riders admired its raw punch, but most called it outdated, even by early 2000s standards. Still, the FE650 bridged eras, the last of the wild mechanical enduros before EFI and electric start tamed the breed. Today, it's earning quiet respect as a vintage powerhouse, loved by collectors who miss that untamed feel. Clean examples now trade around $4,000 to $6,000, and prices are inching upward as nostalgia kicks in. 2009 BMW G450X. By the late 2000s, even the wild old guard was learning restraint. KTM had mastered balance. Husaberg had burned itself out. And now the unlikeliest name of all stepped into the dirt: BMW. The company known for luxury touring bikes and Autobahn manners wanted a slice of the enduro world. Their target was clear: beat KTM at its own game. The result was the G450X, a 449 cubic centimeter four-stroke with electronic fuel injection, a direct drive countershaft, and that trademark BMW aluminum frame. It was bold, clever, and utterly German. Engineered to the millimeter, but missing one critical ingredient: soul. The high center of gravity made it twitchy. The throttle-by-wire system glitched like bad software, and maintenance felt like open-heart surgery. Riders called it a smart bike with no heartbeat. BMW hoped it would revolutionize enduro racing. Instead, it fell flat. Dealers couldn't move them, racers wouldn't touch them, and within 2 years, production quietly ended. But the G450X wasn't wasted effort. Its design DNA later found new life when BMW acquired Husqvarna, refining the same concepts that once failed. Today, the G450X stands as a rare curiosity, over-engineered, underloved, and slowly finding redemption among collectors. Expect to pay $5,000 to $7,000, with pristine low-mile bikes touching $9,000. Here's the truth older riders know in their bones: even the flops leave footprints. The TM400 taught a hard lesson about power without control. The Cannondale MX400, for all its sins, pioneered EFI long before the herd caught up. And Honda's CR480R, brutal but unforgettable, paved the way for the CR500R that finally got the formula right. Each so-called nightmare is a tile in the long road of off-road evolution. Without the mistakes, we'd never get the miracles. That's how progress works in the dirt. Scars first, wisdom after. Have you ever ridden or even seen one of these? Comment with your story, like if you've heard a TM400 crack through the woods like thunder. Subscribe for the next chapter: 10 dirt bikes that redeemed their name.